Thank you, Lascian Corla. I'd like to read an article that was published yesterday in the Agriland Journal into the record by Kieran Fitzgerald. Since 2016, with the UK Brexit vote, Irish agriculture with the Irish economy have faced a huge challenge of economic iceberg proportions in terms of regional and rural economic impact from the UK's exit from the single market. A self-imposed, ideologically driven decision to suppress Irish agri-output, despite the result in an increase in global emissions, looks like providing a second one. There is a lot of smug amusement currently in Irish political and media circles about the latest manifestation of the post-Brexit mess created by the UK government. The sporadic inconvenience of empty supermarket shelves has now morphed into a full-blown petrol crisis because the UK, in pursuit of its identity-based idealism, ignored the impact that leaving the single market would have on a whole range of jobs, but particularly lorry drivers. Unfortunately for the ordinary people of Ireland, the British may well have the last laugh. As bad as Brexit continues to be, Ireland's impending sectoral carbon budgets, in particular the likely budget for Irish agriculture, could make the UK's own goal over Brexit seem trivial in comparison. Irish agriculture has been steadily and consistently marginalised in terms of public perception and demonised, particularly over the last 2 years. There has been deafening silence about the stellar performance of the sector through COVID-19 and much shrillness and mischaracterisation of Irish post-quota dairy growth, for example, as intensification based on exporting food. Two huge crimes in an environmental lexicon that refuses to look at the facts or basic comparators that show that for all of this talk of intensification, the average cow herd in Ireland is now 86 versus 56 in 2014. This compares to Northern Ireland's average herd of 130, Wales 150, Great Britain 160 and Scotland 200. And what about New Zealand? 550, the USA in the thousands. It is perhaps no surprise that these facts or this context does not wash well with environmental lobbyists, but when and why does some media have to accept this ideological guff about exporting? What is the small open economy about? What is foreign direct investment about, if not exporting? Further context was provided in several EU reports which were previously highlighted, and from analysis of the Green Deal by the US Department of Agriculture, as well as the 10-year Outlook report from Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, as well as the OECD, they concluded suppression of Irish and EU agriculture under the Green Deal or National Climate Action legislation will lead to lower global food production and higher food prices for the poorest regions. Much higher global emissions from agriculture because suppressed production from Ireland and the EU will be replaced by production from regions that have emission levels 20 times greater than those applying in the EU and Ireland. Perhaps a bit like what is happening with not just petrol but also gas for home heating. A contrived shortage will have to be created for some sense of proportionality or long-term strategic planning to prevail. Unfortunately, in addition to the extreme prejudice and ignorance being applied to Irish agriculture in the modern Irish economy, the response from Irish agriculture to both insult and grave injury has been poor and self-indulgent. This was evident in the debacle over the remarks made by Teagasc retiring director Jerry Boyle about...
Are you still reading from the article?
I am.
It's most unusual to read an article.
It may be, but I think this article defines where we're at in relation to climate change.
You're reading it into the record saying you're agreeing with this?
I do, absolutely. Right. Thank you. And I may now go over a little, Count Corla.
No, no.
This was evident in the debacle over the remarks. I've covered that. So while the looming carbon budget could totally undermine Irish agriculture sector output in the name of environmental ideology that views livestock production as the equivalent to oil exploration, there is a row in the agri dressing room about sucklers versus dairy beef. A row equivalent to a fight over the deck chairs on the Titanic and the iceberg visible in plain sight, in my view, that of the journalist. Ireland's economy and society is facing a tough post-COVID-19 mid-Brexit challenge, with headwinds also likely from the new approach to a minimum single corporate tax rate of 15%. Within the modern Irish economy, sectors such as agriculture which, by the way, supports 260,000 jobs, can continue to underpin this unique Irish economy impact. At the same time, they can decarbonise production processes based on science, reason and balance, while also responding to real customer and consumer demands. We really don't need to outdo the British with the set of climate bills and budgets that perversely lead to not just the Irish economy's suppression, but global food price increases and increases in global emissions from agriculture. And the sooner the focus of all in Irish agriculture is on articulating both the damage caused and the opportunity that can be grasped, the better. And finally, Count Corla, I'd just like to say that there is a lot about government's policy that doesn't match the words that we hear from government. If we were to put 100,000 electric cars on the road in Ireland today, the infrastructure isn't there to support it. The grid would collapse. We're already hearing with just 30,000 cars that the grid is in trouble and we may well have blackouts for the winter. We don't have solar farms to circumvent when we don't have wind blowing. In Wexford, when the wind doesn't blow, the sun shines. We don't have the ability to feed the electricity from solar farms into the grid because the grid can't take it. Thank you.